Welcome to Eastern Hospitality. I'm Father Moses from Holy Resurrection Monastery in St. Nazianz, Wisconsin.
And I'm Mother Gabriella from Christ the Bridegroom Monastery in Burton, Ohio. And today we're going to be celebrating, actually this coming Sunday is going to be the first Sunday of the Great Fast, which is the Sunday of Orthodoxy. And why is it called the Sunday of Orthodoxy?
It's called the Sunday of Orthodoxy because the dogmas of the Church were defined in the first 7 ecumenical councils of the Church, and this Sunday commemorates the 7th ecumenical council, which was the restoration of the icons after they were being persecuted for venerating the icons. So that's why it's called the Sunday of Orthodoxy.
Wonderful, awesome.
So what are we cooking today?
Well, in order to celebrate, because it'll be the weekend, so we can have wine and oil, which is wonderful, we'll be having mushroom stroganoff and roasted vegetables.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so we're going to get started with mushroom stroganoff.
Okay.
So first thing, we start with some cashews. Let me just squeeze in front of you. So that we've soaked these cashews overnight and drained them. So we'll go ahead and put these in. Thank you. Put them in the blender. Probably about 2 cups here of cashews. And then, so they get nice and swollen.
And they just soaked in water?
Mm-hmm. Yep, just some water over. You can do it a couple hours before if you use like boiling water, but the best is if they're overnight because then they get really, really soft and break up really well. So then we'll put a couple, probably about 2 cups of this vegetable broth here in with them. And then, all right, and we'll go ahead and blend it till it's nice and smooth, not too grainy, and pardon the noise. All right. I think this looks pretty good.
Okay,
Nice.
you want me to chop these onions?
Yes, but before you do, can you hand me the olive oil? I'll get that heating. So we'll go ahead and heat some olive oil over here on the stove. Probably on like medium high. Get it nice and hot. You can just, chop pretty big pieces. Put a couple tablespoons of olive oil right in there. Go ahead and put that. 2 good sized onions. And what's that special trick that you have that you showed us last time?
All right. If you slice the onion this way, but don't go all the way through so it holds together, and then give it a slice that way.
Okay.
And then just chop. And you should have nice, fairly even pieces, and the whole thing holds together.
Woo. Burning. Thank you.
That for you.
All right. Give those a stir. Can you hand me the salt? We'll just throw a little pinch of salt in there. Okay. Thank you.
What's next?
We're going to let these cook here until they take a couple minutes to brown. So probably 4 or 5 minutes while you want them to get kind of really starting to burn, get a nice crispy brown on them.
Okay.
So I guess while we wait for that, what's one of your favorite icons?
My favorite icon is an icon of St. Moses the Black that was written for me by a friend of mine, Father Mark Malone. It's in the Coptic style.
Ooh, okay.
And it was given to me when I was ordained to the diaconate.
That's awesome. What's different about the Coptic style?
Oh, much more primitive,
Okay.
big eyes.
I have an icon of Jesus in my icon corner. It was given to me by one of my sisters, and just very sentimental. It's hand painted, just like really beautiful. Speaks to my speaks to my heart.
Very
Jesus
good.
speaks to me. So, all right. Looks like we're about ready for the garlic.
Okay.
Can you hand me that, Father Moses? All right. Looks good.
Don't skimp on the garlic.
No. That's how we keep the vampires away.
That's right.
All right. Let that cook for about 30 seconds.
And what's next?
Then we're gonna have, we'll take half the mushrooms. You can just give me the mushrooms, I'll throw half in. All right, thank you. So those are just roughly chopped, pretty thick.
What kind of mushrooms are they?
These are portobello. You can use any, but I like portobello.
Okay.
And then I'll take the rest of the thyme. I'll take the thyme. About 2.5 teaspoons of thyme. Thank you very much. Give that a stir around. Turn this down just a little bit. So we'll cook that while till the mushrooms brown. Just kind of get obliterated, but really tasty. All right, looks like we can go ahead and stir in the tomato paste. Thank you. A couple tablespoons here of tomato paste. Okay, and then the salt and pepper.
There you go.
Toss that in. Give that a stir around. And then you could hand me the good stuff.
Vino.
Take the wine. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. So we'll let that reduce there till about half of the wine. So let it cook off a little bit. Soak into the mushrooms.
It smells so good.
I know. It must be a Sunday during Lent. All right. Looks pretty good. Can you hand me the rest of the mushrooms and I'll throw those in? Okay. Thank you.
Go.
Toss those right in. And then those other couple, the broth. Yeah, that's
There
great.
you go.
6 or so cups of broth. Pour that in. Looks pretty good. Thank you. All right, I'll give that a stir. And then we'll let it come up to a boil, and then we'll let that simmer for probably about 10 minutes.
Okay, well, while that's simmering, why don't we go over to Father Marek, who's going to give us a reflection on the Sunday of Orthodoxy.
Thank you, chefs. Every Sunday of the Great Fast has its particular name. This upcoming Sunday is known as Sunday of Orthodoxy, or Sunday of the Restoration of Holy Images. Now, why do we call this first Sunday of Great Lent the Sunday of Orthodoxy? In the 8th century, from the year of 726 all the way to 843, that era is known as iconoclasm, and it literally means fighting against the images. When the religious use of icons or holy images was opposed. The Dark Era lasted over 100 years, and the countless icons were taken down and destroyed by iconoclasts, those people who opposed the use of icons. Just like in the past, people oppose the use of icons because they fear that icons are an example of idolatry, which is literally worshiping of things rather than God. I'd like to refer to the Bible quote from the Old Testament. It's from the Exodus chapter 20, verses 4 and 5. It's also known as the Mosaic Law, and it says, "You shall not make for yourself an idol or a likeness of anything in the heavens above, or on the earth below, or in the waters beneath the earth. You shall not bow down before them or serve them." Now, St. John Damascus, one of the greatest defenders of icons, says, referring to that particular Bible quote, that God gave us this instruction not to prohibit images, but to prohibit idolatry. Literally to keep us from worshiping something false instead of the one true God. In other words, images are not really the problem. The problem is worshiping something false. We need to keep in mind that we do not worship icons, but we venerate them. Same as we venerate the cross, the gospel book, the Bible. We treat them with honor and we kiss them. In 787, the church assembled in the city of Nicaea for the Seventh Ecumenical Council, where the church declared that the icons are a very important part of an act of prayer and worship. Icon is being venerated as the gospel is being venerated. There's a parallel between the gospel and the icon. St. John Damascus says, what the word of the gospel is for the ear, the icon is for the eye. So the Seventh Ecumenical Council encourages us to venerate the icons because we not only venerate the icons, but we venerate the saints they depict, and it passes all the way back to Christ. Before Christ, we could not depict God because God is invisible. Now, I'd like to share a little story with you as I'm teaching icon classes, and I often tell my students, if there was no Christmas, there would be no iconography. And they're looking at me with funny faces, and I try to explain to them that this is the mystery of incarnation, where we go to John's Gospel, chapter 1, verse 14. And it says, "And the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. And we saw his glory, the glory as of the Father's only Son, full of grace and truth." So in the birth of Christ, God became one of us. He took on flesh. He showed us his image. Iconodoles, those who were the defending icons, were saying not to make an icon of Christ is to suggest that somehow his humanity is unreal, imaginary. So St. John Damascus is saying, I do not worship matter. I worship the creator of matter, who became matter for my sake and accepted to dwell in matter, and through matter worked my salvation. And I will not cease from reverencing matter through which my salvation was worked. So idolatry is false worship. True worship focuses on God. And icons help us to do that. One of my favorite quotes is from Fyodor Mikhailovich Dostoevsky when he says, "The beauty will save the world." And yet another quote from Paul Evdokimov, it says, "Icon is a theology of beauty." Now, kalos in Greek, it means beauty. It's good. It's beautiful. Now let me read from John's Gospel, chapter 10, verse 11. "I am the good shepherd. A good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep." beautiful shepherd will lay down his life for the sheep, for us. As we even see on the icon that is behind me, the icon of extreme humility, where Christ obeyed the Father through the cross all the way to the tomb. The beauty will save the world. Now the Greek word kaleo is a verb for to call, invite. So icon is an expression of divine beauty. The holy icons, through their spiritual beauty, call out to us, draw us to themselves. They invoke on us joy and eagerness to come closer to the living God. Now, knowing all that, after the death of the last iconoclast emperor Theophilus, his young son Michael III, his mother Theodora, and Patriarch Methodius summoned the Synod of Constantinople in 843 to bring peace to the church. At the end of the first session, all made a triumphal procession from the church of Blacherny to Hagia Sophia, restoring the icons to the church. This occurred on March 11, 843, which was that year the first Sunday of Great Lent. The Synod decreed that a perpetual feast on the anniversary of that day should be observed each year on the first Sunday of Great Lent, and named the day the Sunday of Orthodoxy. Now back to the chefs.
Welcome back. Thank you, Father Marek. Are we still simmering away?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
we're still simmering.
Still needs to simmer some more?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I'll get started on the roasted vegetables.
Okay, great.
Okay, I've got already chopped here. I've got some fennel,
Okay.
butternut squash, parsnips, carrots, and celery root. And I'm going to do a little bit more fennel here to add. Oh, and I've got some onions as well,
Mm-hmm.
and some potatoes, and some parsnips.
All right, that looks good. So you already washed and
Pre-washed,
Peeled.
peeled, ready to go.
and how far in advance can you go ahead and chop those if you were gonna?
Oh, you could do them a day or two in advance even.
Okay.
Put them in the fridge. All right, we're gonna season them up.
Okay. Toss it all in the bowl.
Get them in the oven. Oh, and we're gonna add some of those baby potatoes.
All right, let me take that.
Thank you.
Potatoes. Here's your onions.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. There we go. All right, we're gonna add some fresh chopped garlic. And I have some fresh thyme that we're gonna add.
Okay.
What happened to the olive oil?
The olive oil. Oh, sorry, I stole it. Here it is. Magic. So just toss some olive oil in there.
Yep.
You said garlic, thyme,
We'll put some salt.
salt. Okay.
Plenty of salt.
Of course. Of course. Get it? Salt, of course.
And some fresh black pepper.
Okay.
We're gonna mix it all up.
Did you already put balsamic or that goes
I'm
later?
gonna put
Do that
some
later? Okay.
vinegar in a minute.
Looks good.
We got some balsamic vinegar,
All right.
and we're ready to go. Can you grab me that pan from the oven?
I sure can. Let me just
No,
give this a
when I
stir.
roast vegetables, I like to have the pan that I'm gonna roast them on smoking hot. So it's been in a 500-degree oven for about 20 minutes, so it's really hot.
All right. Okay. Put that
All right, so we're gonna get these in the oven
Okay.
on a nice smoking hot pan.
Ooh.
And spread them out so they're in a single even layer,
Okay.
and then go back in that 500-degree oven.
Okay.
About 20 minutes, they'll be ready.
All right. Let me grab those. Okay. Okay. All right.
Everything should be done in about 20 minutes.
Okay, wonderful.
All right.
Pretty hot. Bring this over, and we'll add the cashew cream
Okay.
right in there. Thank you. I'll take those. Thanks. So, can I have can I have the rubber scraper? Thanks. So we'll go ahead and pour that in. So we'll mix this in. You can leave it on low heat, but this is pretty hot, so I'm just gonna, I took it right off because you don't want that cream to burn on the bottom, but you want it to still be pretty hot so that it mixes in. Looks pretty good. Okay. Get as much out of their creamy cashew goodness as we can. The best part is all you have to do is rinse it out and throw some water and soap in there and it's clean. Throw it right back on the blender. So that looks pretty good. All right. Give that to you, Father Moses.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll give that a stir around so that it gets nice and blended and kind of turns into a nice creamy color from that dark brown. All right. Looks pretty
Smells fantastic.
good. Mm-hmm. So as we get that, we let that mix in. You kind of want to let it set maybe just a few minutes so that the mushrooms and everything kind of really get together, get that flavor together. But it's pretty much ready to go right at that point. It can just thicken a little bit, but it looks pretty good, nice and creamy. So you could serve this, usually we serve it with pasta. So we'll go ahead and plate that with just some regular pasta. It'll look pretty good. Except for it's not as thick as usual, but that's okay. But the longer it sits, the thicker it will get. Looks pretty good.
Oh, it looks so good.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got it?
Yep. Cooled down enough. Okay.
There you go.
I'm magic. I'm not that magic. All right. Go ahead and grab these out. Go ahead and set this over here. Is that okay to set on there, or should
Yep,
I put it? Okay.
Right there. That's
Maybe
fine.
take it off the. Yeah, there we go. Right on the wood should be good.
Okay. And grab one of these plates.
Looks good. Do you throw a little salt on there too? Right
Yep,
at
I
the
will
end?
salt these when they come out of the oven and they're still hot. Hit them with some nice coarse salt, and you're all set.
Looks good. Yeah. Yum.
There you go.
Looks pretty good. All right, let's dig in and give this a shot. Looks pretty
Oh,
good.
it looks so good.
Really good.
Mmm.
Nice and warm.
Mm.
It's like a nice savory.
Nice for a cold winter evening.
I'm gonna try these. This looks super good. Nice roasted vegetables. Very good. Oh, thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. Please join us again next week when we discuss St. Gregory Palamas.
Don't forget to watch on March 7th. We look forward to seeing you then. God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.